Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar as part of our events that we're hosting for our Organic Month series. This is our 17th year of running Organic Month in Canada, and we're excited today to bring to you an exciting topic called Decoding the Canada Organic Logo, a guide for consumers. We have an expert panel with us today, which are going to have a lively conversation around all sorts of questions that you may have burning in the back of your mind, learning a little bit more about what that Canada Organic logo and the claim of organic means. So stick with us as we run through today's presentation and webinar. Just to acknowledge that our association, the Canada Organic Trade Association, which is hosting this event, our offices are located in Ottawa on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. And we're very pleased to be able to run this series of educational events as part of our mission and our work, but we can't do it alone. And these events that we are running all throughout the month are sponsored by many partners, including Riverside, the makers of Made Good. We've got Lancet, Kiju Organic, Nature's Path, Yorkshire Valley Farms, Jaws Organic, and EcoCert. And many of them are actually on the call with us here today. We're excited about that. So for beginning, we are going to have each one of our panelists introduce themselves, and we will have them run through just a little bit about who they are, what their organization does for just a few minutes before we kick off the questions. So over to Julia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julia Buchan, and I work with EcoCert Canada. So we are one of the many organic certification bodies in Canada who are accredited by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So we're given permission by them to certify organic operators, whether they be farmers or processors or importers, distributors, to the Canadian Organic Standard. I am also an avid organic consumer. So I'm happy to be here today to talk to you guys.
Great. Thank you so much. Now over to James.
Yes. Hello, everyone. James Goldthorpe, CEO with Yorkshire Valley Farms. We are a farmer-founded organic poultry company located in Ontario. We've got products primarily sold through the retail channel, and we have chicken, turkey, and eggs. And happy to be here today and excited to be working with Coda as a great ambassador for Canadian organics.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Over to you, Shanelli.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Shanali Madanarupan. I am on the impact team here at Riverside Natural Foods, a family-founded organic manufacturer, also the home of the organic snack brand Made Good. I also have a different hat. I'm also on the board of the Organic Council of Ontario, studied organic agriculture. I'm really happy to be here to talk more about the organic logo. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And last but not least, Valeria. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valeria Stikova. I work for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. I'm the lead auditor for the Canada Organic Regime. This is the regulatory system for organic products in Canada, and I'm so happy and proud of this system because I've been working on this system since its implementation in 2009. Last year, we celebrated 15 years since the development and the implementation of the Canada Organic Regime, and I'll be happy to participate in this webinar today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to dig into all the questions that we have for our panelists now. And the first question, and I'll invite everybody to jump in with your comments and questions, but I'll start off with Shanali. What does the organic label actually mean in terms of farming practices and product ingredients?
Awesome. Thank you, Tia. I love this question. I will start off by saying that here at Riverside, but also personally, we describe and define organic as working with nature rather than against nature. And so I think it's quite known that when you grow organic produce, you grow organic food, it's farming without the use of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, synthetic fertilizers, and no GMOs. But some of the core organic management practices that I like to fluff about are this emphasis on soil health. Anything from using compost to green manures, which are plants that already harvest and own nitrogen that's good for the soil, and cover crops, all of which add nutrients and organic matter to the soil, help keep your weeds down, protect the soil from erosion, and maintain moisture. Got practices like crop rotations that help prevent pests and diseases, and also prevent us from using synthetic pesticides, and helps balance the nutrition in the soil without chemical fertilizers. And my favorite is the fact that farmers are actively promoting and supporting biodiversity and biodiverse lands and beneficial insects by planting habitats and pollinator strips and avoiding the use of synthetic pesticides and chemicals. From an ingredient perspective, that means that a finished product has 95% plus organic ingredients in that product. And that label guarantees that what you're buying is made with ingredients that meet a set of standards. In fact, a product like Made Good carries that Canada Organic logo, made up of at least 95% organic ingredients. Then you have ingredients like salt and water that we can't really certify, but everything else is. And it's really just, it tells you what it is that you, at the end of the day, the organic label isn't only about what's not in your food, it's also about what it represents. Healthier ecosystems, more resilient farming communities, and trust that the food you're feeding your family and ourselves has been grown and made with integrity. I'll pass it on. I feel like I can keep talking.
I think you did a very good job.
Thank you.
I think from my perspective, working with a certification body, it also, not just anybody can make these claims and not just anyone can use that organic logo. It really does mean that a third party has come in and verified that. And I think that is the cornerstone and what's very important within when you see that organic logo, that you know that someone has validated those claims. So that's kind of from my side.
Yes, if I can add to this, I will give you two perspectives, the regulatory point of view and actually my consumer point of view. First of all, certification and labels play a critical role in building confidence and in building consumer trust in organic food industry. And from CFA point of view, actually organic label means that regulatory requirements are met, that there are strict organic standards that are met, and the product is truly certified as organic. It was already mentioned that actually we care about sustainability, we care about animal welfare and soil health, but we also care about the consumers. When consumers see a label, the consumer knows that there is third party authorizing this product, that there is someone that has accountability about this product, and the name of the certification body is on this product. As a consumer, I care. I want to see on the label the Canada Organic logo. I want to see the name of the organization that certified the product as organic. This gives me confidence, assurance that someone is taking care of this product. Someone knows what organic also means. So this is my point of view.
Excellent. And over to you, James.
Well, I mean, just kind of bringing it all together, that's exactly why Yorkshire Valley went organic, is because it was that independent third-party validation that we could look consumers in the eye and tell them that this is a federally government regulated system, and they could put trust in that system versus, a made-up certification. So that we leaned heavily into that. And one other point on the sustainability, and almost a bit, it's bleeding more and more into the standard, but that fair trade, something that we take a tremendous amount of pride in, and I think most organic brands would, is that so many parts of the supply chain are operating fairly. And that doesn't often happen in the commodity system. Usually one is winning at the expense of the other. And I think organic's done an amazing job knowing that the farmer, the distributor, the miller, the transporter, everyone is making their fair share. And the consumer still sees tremendous value in that product. And that's something that we're really proud of.
That's great. The one thing I feel like nobody yet has really dug into is like preservatives and synthetic dyes, etc. Those are prohibited as well when it comes to manufactured products. And we're hearing a lot about what's happening in the United States and banning these things. Already these practices are prohibited within organic. So organic is so many things. And this is why sometimes consumers find it difficult to understand that it's not just that singular claim. It really is extremely holistic, looking at various modes of production, whether it's for meat production, whether it's for bee production, whether it's for a manufactured product, and for agricultural. So it's really great to kind of get your guys' perspective in regards to how organic is from your own perspectives. Now I'd like you to share a moment when you saw the impact of these organic practices firsthand.
I'll kick it off. I think
Sure.
and again, builds off of what I said already, but I think where I take a lot of pride and joy in my role is when I see a second generation come back to the farm, when I'm looking at the farm level, knowing that that logo and the value that it creates all the way through the supply chain can make these smaller scale farms more viable than they would have been without being certified organic.
And if I can build on the word pride, I've been with this system for 16 years now, and I had the pleasure to visit so many operators in Canada and abroad. And what struck me most is really the pride and the care all the organic producers have when it comes to organic. Organic is not just a claim. Organic is a philosophy. And everybody that is part of the Canada Organic regime, I think, believes in this philosophy. It's not just, okay, we make organic product, we put the logo. I think all the operators truly believe in what they are doing and what they are working with every day. So we are very, very proud of our operators actually for this, because every year we collect information about our operators. Is there a growth? How many more come in the system? And although we went through difficult times, I think that more and more operators, especially in Canada, are willing and are participating in the Canada Organic regime. So pride and care are the two keywords for all the people that work in the organic industry in Canada for me.
Yeah, Chanelli really touched on that when she talked about, green manure and biodiversity and how really there is a huge pride in trying to leave the soil better than when maybe a farmer got it. I think one thing I talk to a lot of farmers at the trade shows that I attend, and they'll be able to talk your ear off about all the cool things that they're doing to try and increase that soil health. And I mean, one example that sticks out to me is we have a client who has done presentations in past and spoken about this very, very passionately, but he's like a third generation farmer, and his family had previously farmed conventionally, and they made the decision to transition. And their main motivator was really their own personal health, the health of their kids, of their family. I mean, he spoke of a time where his father wasn't allowed to come into the house after being in the fields without showering because of these very disturbing chemicals that he was working with at the time. And they then made the decision to transition. And there's just that point of pride where you're working with the soil, you're working with the environment, you're not fighting against it. And yeah, like Valeria and everyone has said, it's that pride in really what they're doing to improve the world and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, all of those things that organic agriculture, which works its way throughout the full supply chain, really allows.
Chanelli, anything to add?
Yeah, I have a quick on-farm story that has stuck in my mind and I haven't been able to forget about it. But I visited an organic oat farm in Saskatchewan last year. And there was this moment that has still stuck with me, but the farmer hosting us was experimenting with what's called bale grazing. So he basically let his sheep graze on a small section of his oat field in the farm with hay bales left out for feed. And then when we came back in the summer of the following year, so in July, you could clearly see where that patch of sheep and bale hay had been, because we came back and you could see level that the oats were like this, and all of a sudden there was this tall, healthy section of oats in the field. And it just blew my mind that something so simple could be so powerful. And this reminder of organic practices like integrating your livestock could help return nutrients back to the soil, that manure, the physical impact of the animals on the land, farmers getting experimental and creative, and just not being afraid to see what could work within the realms of their lands. And just to see it so starkly, the oats go from like this, like that was just incredible. So that was
Awesome.
my impact.
Great story. Great.
Great.
So the next question I have for you is, life is changing all the time, right? There's all sorts of new growing conditions, all sorts of new chemicals, pesticides, and innovative new techniques. So how are the organic standards kept current and harmonized with other international organic standards?
So the Canadian Organic Standards development in Canada is very dynamic and stakeholder-driven process. We have a very unique process, and we are very proud of this process because it's not just government-led. It's the industry that knows, that want to participate. The other interesting fact about our standards is that they are renewed or reviewed every 5 years to make sure that they're up to date, and they incorporate new technologies, new development, new industry inputs, and at the same time ensuring integrity and market access. Probably not all of you know that Canada, or the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, is part of the International Working Group on Equivalency Arrangements. And as part of this working group, we discussed a lot of new technologies, some issues or challenges with different products, also some intelligence. You know, fraud is the new keyword in the organic world. So we do discuss these things, how we protect the organic industry, how do we protect the organic growth and production, and all these new things, all this information, we, the CFA, take it back and share it with the technical committee that develops or reviews the Canadian Organic Standard. So we try to keep in touch with what's happening outside Canada, with all our international partners, and we report back to the technical committee. So I think that our standards are always up to date because we have this built-in process to update them and review them every 5 years.
Yeah, it's a dialogue, right? I think, Valeria, like, we have experts from certification bodies, from farming groups, from all different walks contributing to that conversation about how we stay up to date and what needs to change. Maybe we need to be stricter in one area to, like you said, prevent fraud, and maybe some things need to be readdressed that were kind of passed by last time. And there's a consumer element too. You can submit your questions about the interpretation of the standard. You can have a say in how that regulation comes to being every 5 years. And it's a cycle, just like the certification. It's a cycle, and we can keep talking about it. So yes, I think that's very important. We're talking to other countries, we're reviewing our equivalencies, and we are opening up markets for Canadian businesses to export, and we import, and there is that dynamic nature of the standard.
And we have a very democratic process. That's also very important to highlight. Our standard is not only government-led.
Exactly.
It's very, very open. So this makes our standard unique and probably more flexible than the other standards around the world that are in the regulations. We have this flexibility. Our standards are incorporated by reference in the regulations, so we can change them more regularly, being up to date more often than all the other countries around the world.
And James, I know you participated in working groups over the years, and myself, I sit on the technical committee, which helps, understand and vet the process of all the recommendations. Do you have any experience that you want to talk about just being on one of those individual working groups?
Yeah, well, I think I've done it for three standard reviews.
Wow.
So that shows you how long I've been around with 5-year
The whole
increments.
time.
For 10 years now. But yeah, it is a very holistic and wholesome process. It's a lot of hours with a lot of people, so it's very fulsome. There's good dialogue. Like it's not one-sided. They can get quite contentious, but the good news is we do find a good solution there. But there is good debate, and it's a very active process. I can't think of another thing in my career that has been so broad in scope and to support the broader industry. So it's quite a unique experience, but it is a big lift. It's a lot of work.
It is. And I know like it generally takes about 3 years. Like you're kind of quiet for 2 years, and then it takes about 3 years to work our way through the full cycle. So yeah, it's got rigor to it. And I love the fact that anybody can submit a change, which will be discussed at a working group level, vetted, researched with scientific, and also check the equivalencies. What are the standards of our trade partners doing on that topic to understand whether a change to the standard might even create a trade barrier. That's I think also another one.
It's again another great example of how united and this industry is, are committed to promoting organic, back to that pride that people are willing to give so much to protect and promote the standard.
Absolutely. And I love that the dialogue is international in scope in many ways, because you can't just have something that's only just for Canada. It really has to be something that unites at the international level across, because there is so much international trade. Valeria, I'll have you lead on this one. How is organic certification regulated and who oversees it?
Hey, my favorite topic, right? So, as I already mentioned, the organic system in Canada has the name Canada Organic Regime, and it's regulated by the Safe Food for Canadians regulations, my favorite part 13. So, the purpose of the Canada Organic Regime is actually to regulate all parties involved in the certification of organic products to make sure that our standards and regulations are being met and basically consistently met. So the role of the CFA is to oversee, to monitor and enforce the regulations or the requirements of the Canada Organic Regime using third-party delivery model. It's a unique model, right? We have the certification bodies, and Julie is representing one of the certification bodies that certify organic products in Canada. So we have around 38 certification bodies working both in Canada and outside Canada. So we have international certification bodies that certify to the Canadian organic standard abroad so that we can have access to more organic products. And when these products are imported to Canada, they meet the same standard as our operators here in Canada. We also have one unique layer, which is called conformity verification bodies. These are bodies that are between the CFA and the certification bodies, and basically they do a lot of the work that CFA is supposed to do by auditing and monitoring the work of the certification bodies. This allows actually CFA to focus more on the international work, on the negotiations with the other trading partners, and I'm proud to say that we have 9 equivalency arrangements, and we were able to achieve these 9 equivalency arrangements because we have very rigorous organic system in Canada. Everything is regulated, everything is set in the standards, in the regulations. So the role of the CFA is actually to oversee the whole system. We have 4 layers in the Canada Organic Regime. CFA as the competent authority overseeing the whole system, the conformity verification bodies monitoring and auditing the certification bodies that work in Canada and internationally. And of course, the most important part is the operators, the processors, the producers who produce the organic products. And the certification bodies are actually our eyes and ears on the field. They are seeing how the products are produced. They verify how the standards are met. So it's a complex system. It's not easy to oversee, but with the years, we learn how to work together, how to share information, and how to deal with challenges. So we continue to enforce the regulations the way we set them in 2009. And
That's
maybe
great.
Julie can add to this from the certification bodies point of view.
Well, I'm going to ask my next question because it's exactly that. What role does auditing play in maintaining consumer trust in that organic label? And what's the role of you as a certification body? What is it that you're auditing?
Everything. Yeah, I think everyone has touched on this a little bit, but the really important part is that we are a third party. We are, we have no stake in whether a client becomes certified or not. We are going every year to audit in person. So like, let's kind of step back. We start by getting an application. We do a full sort of review of what the client wants, whether that's farming certification, processing. We're reviewing everything in paper form before we actually go on site and audit. And then that audit happens annually every year. The client has to maintain their file with us. So if anything changes, like if they want to use a new cleaning product, they need to disclose that to us. It's a dialogue. It's a very back and forth process. We're always in communication. And then they need to renew every year, and they're submitting additional information at that time. And we're going to audit on the ground. This is not a simple phone call or video call. It is on the ground. Our auditors are there in person. They're checking the manufacturing floor or they're walking the fields. And, when something might be askew, they can identify that not only through paperwork, but through their eyes and ears, talking to people, checking things out. Part of our job is to try and identify fraud. We never like to hear that happening, but it is a reality, and that is our part of our job is to try and track that down when and if necessary. You know, I guess that's kind of like the Cole's notes of it. And I get one other thing to note is that we are required by the CFIA to do a certain amount of surprise audits and testing of products, whether that be farm products, or the end finished product, making sure that that integrity is maintained. It's keeping people on their toes. We could show up at any moment potentially, and keeping everybody accountable to the system that we need to be able to trust.
If I may
Yeah.
add, sorry,
Please do.
these are very good topics, and I think that it's important for everybody to understand that although we have many certification bodies, they don't do things on their own. Everything is regulated, everything is described. As Julie mentioned, CFA asks for surprise or unannounced visits. CFA asks this. Yes, we work together with the certification bodies to explain to everyone how the audits are to be conducted, what documentation should be checked, why we are doing things in a specific way. So it's all in a collaborative way or means. CFA doesn't come up with these things on our own. The certification bodies do not do things just because they like to do them. This is all regulated. So it gives confidence to the consumers that all of the certification bodies are doing the audits, are doing the verification in a consistent manner. And that's why when we see the logo, this adds to the confidence of the consumer that, yes, the product is really verified.
And I think it's really important to mention that, there's international best practices that are discussed amongst the competent authorities, discussed amongst the industry, discussed amongst the standard setting bodies all around the world. And so I think that's the part that I find is quite fascinating, that this kind of grew up kind of out of the 70s, where there was all these different standards that eventually became regulated into one country by country standard. And then it was through those dialogues that we actually got to sort of the best practices for each region. So I think that's really exciting. Chanelli, I wanted to ask you, since Made Good, you have products that you source in Canada, but you also source from many different places around the world. How do you know that the organic standards are being maintained on those ingredients that are from faraway places like chocolate, or I don't know what else you have in there, but I know there's chocolate because I like it.
There's definitely
maybe you can
chocolate.
just give us a sense of what's the process you as a manufacturer goes through to ensure that, and then we'll maybe take it to the regulatory side about what is the confidence there.
I might touch on a little bit on the regulatory, but Valeria, you can check me in my facts.
Go ahead. I will take notes.
So yeah, you got it. Chocolate is coming internationally among many other ingredients. But when sourcing international ingredients like chocolate, especially for our organic brand Made Good, it's required that imported organic ingredients meet the Canada Organic Standards or equivalent standards under what's called the equivalency agreement that Valeria mentioned earlier. And so, for example, Riverside's chocolate comes from Peru and is actually certified under the USDA organic standards at origin, which means the cacao was grown in Peru under a different but equivalent set of organic standards. And I meant, Valeria, I'm going to do your job for just a second with my definition. So I mentioned the term equivalency agreement just a moment ago, which can be described as a trade agreement between two countries, recognizing that each other's organic standards are equivalent in their outcome. We trust your organic system and you trust ours, is kind of my way of putting it in layman's terms. So in Canada, we have a Canada-US organic equivalency agreement. Is that good?
It's
Very
just
good.
Arrangement,
Yeah.
not agreement.
Arrangement. Oh,
Yeah.
Arrangement.
Close enough.
Canada-US organic equivalency arrangement. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So
Yes.
when importing our ingredients like chocolate, organic agave, organic sunflower oil, organic brown rice syrups. These are all ingredients coming from around the world. We receive and confirm that the product is certified organic with the certificate. It holds the logo, whether it's a USDA organic logo, EU organic logo, Canada organic logo. This verifies to our regulatory teams, our internal teams, our procurement teams, that the Canada organic standards are being maintained, even though the ingredient is labeled with a different but equivalent organic logo. And as I mentioned, this applies to several ingredients in our portfolio that we import internationally.
Okay, Valeria, now talk about the additional statement that needs to be on that certificate.
Well, I will start, and then maybe Julie will talk a little bit more, because the certification body also has a critical role to play here. When they do the annual certification, they verify all the suppliers. They verify all the certificates to make sure that everything is actually compliant with the Canadian organic requirements. So we have unique equivalency arrangement with the USDA National Organic Program, because it covers third countries. It covers Peru, it covers Colombia, it covers countries with which we don't have equivalency arrangement. We always call this equivalency arrangement historical, because it's the first of this type, but it worked very well for the last 15 years, because we were able to bring to Canada various organic products. Yes, we compare the two standards, and yes, we look at the outcome of these two standards or these two regulatory systems. But even when they meet the same outcomes, there are things that are very different. And within our equivalency arrangement with the US, we have 3 critical variances. And these 3 critical variances have to be met in order for the product that is certified under the USDA National Organic Program certification actually can be brought to Canada. So we have a requirement for all the certificates issued under the USDA NOP to display or to write or to have certified to the terms of the US-Canada Organic Equivalency Arrangement, because of these critical variances. Very often, the certification bodies forget to put it, and this is a role that we have to play, to remind them that we have to have this statement which proves that the certification body verified the terms of the equivalency arrangement. One last thing, I know I like to talk about these import requirements and everything, but we just implemented additional requirement for all the importers of organic products to Canada. Now we ask the importers or the brokers to upload copy of this organic certificate in the system or the integrated import declaration. And CFA start regularly looking at these certificates to see the level of compliance. So you will hear more about this verification. We want to make sure that everybody understands and has responsibility when we bring products from other countries. We want to create level playing. We want to make sure that our operators, our producers here in Canada are treated the same way as our international partners or as our international operators. So yes, you will hear more about the controls we put in place with regards to imported ingredients.
I think Valeria pretty much covered everything there, but just from the certification body perspective, we are checking that. So when a certificate is submitted to us for a new ingredient to be reviewed, if it is certified to the USDA National Organic Program standard, we are checking that that statement that Valeria mentioned is appearing on the certificate. And if it's not, it's sent back and we say you can't use this until it is. So whether that's the certification body is then able to add it to the certificate, or in some cases it doesn't meet the critical variances. So in that case, the manufacturer needs to be aware of that and they need to source a different ingredient. So these are all things that are being checked. And additionally, with what Valeria has mentioned about the new import requirements, these are all sorts of checks and balances that are ensuring that the regulations are really being respected. It's not something that people are getting away with. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's upholding that organic integrity in
Yeah.
which should be represented. So we have organic equivalency arrangements with the EU, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Costa Rica, Mexico, Switzerland, and the UK. And who's my USA? is that a requirement for all organic certificates to have that additional statement if it's coming in with an organic equivalency?
It's required if it's the USDA. If it's EU, then no. If it's, there every single equivalency arrangement has different requirements. The US one we've talked about extensively, but for example, I think it's Japan, correct me if I'm wrong, Valeria, but only certain products can be imported into Canada as equivalent. So, whoever is the certification body who's doing those checks to make sure that what's being imported has an import certificate that verifies that information. There's all sorts of different nitty-gritty details, but we all have to respect those little variances.
Right. And that's why I asked the question, because not everything is
Yeah,
the same.
Not
exactly.
everything is the same. Not everything is the same.
Yeah.
And again, we know that sometimes it might be confusing because each equivalency arrangement is unique and has its own specific terms. And not all the products are covered under all the equivalency arrangements. So right now, we developed a table that is on the CFA webpage where it says under each equivalency arrangement, what it is, compare, look at the documentation. So we are trying to make it a little bit easier for the general public to understand what equivalency arrangement is and what is included, what is excluded. It's a complicated process. And it takes time, but we are trying to provide this information to the general public as well.
We also created a global organic trade guide at CODA for our members, just to take it country by country, exactly what you need to know in order to export there or to import in. So I think that's been really helpful just to have these additional resources because every deal with every country can be a little bit different just because we have to respect their regulations and their authority as well. So back to kind of a Canadian claim, are there differences between when you see a product that just says organic right on the front, and then there's other ones that say made with organic ingredients? Can somebody speak to what is that different, or why is some say organic and some say made with organic ingredients?
Yes, that there is a difference. So I think a few people have mentioned, but when the product is organic, it must be 95% organic plus organic ingredients. And when you see that made with, and then in Canada, it actually requires that you specify the percentage. So let's say made with 78% organic ingredients, then the certification body has done that math, the client has done that math, and that's specifying on there that that's the percentage of organic ingredients. And then also within that, there's some things that are still prohibited. So that's all checked along the way. And in that case, you can't use the Canada Organic logo, but it is still verified and certified by a certification body. So if you turn it over, usually it's on the back, you'll be able to see that certified by blank organic certification body. And that's what really differentiates those two things is it's a classification, two different types of organic products.
So what's the cusp then? You have to have what minimum amount of organic in order to make a made with organic ingredients?
70%. So 70 to 95, and then 95 plus would be the organic category.
Okay, great. And is it mandatory to use the organic logo?
It is not. We love to see it though. Maybe Valeria could speak to that but
Maybe
yes.
James, tell me,
Oh yeah, James.
why have you chosen to use the Canada Organic logo on your products?
I think it goes back to that building that consumer trust that we talked about, or I talked about earlier on. It just, we wanted to prove that the claims that we were making are validated by an independent third party. For us, that was mission critical to build that trust. Organic, as we know, because of some of the practices, can come with a cost premium. And so we just wanted to make people feel really comfortable that if they are paying that premium, that they can trust and rely that this product has actually gone through all the steps of organic. So again, I'm speaking personally and maybe out of turn, but we do find we do get frustrated when we see people claiming organic that does not have the logo there, because I think it can sometimes lead to some mistrust.
Right. And Valeria, what do people do if they see that there's somebody doing that, making an organic claim that's not verified?
Okay. So we take these claims very seriously. And I want to go a little bit back and say that the Canada Organic logo was developed with a very heavily involvement of the industry. Industry wanted to have a Canada Organic logo. And although it's not mandatory in the regulations, we know that the Canada Organic logo is well known, it's recognizable, and the industry did a very good job promoting the Canada Organic logo. What is important on the label is actually the name of the certification body. And for us, when there is no name of the certification body on the label, that's a red flag. Something is going on. In this case, we encourage the producers, the general public, the other governments to send a complaint to the Canada Organic office. And we do have a procedure in place, complaint procedure in place. And depending on the nature of the complaint, either the CFA inspectors follow up on the case, or it's sent back to the certification body, or our office follows up, or we contact the competent authorities in other countries to make sure that the complaint is followed up on. We have a very well-defined complaint process, and we do follow up on all complaints. I would like to say that we don't have that many complaints, actually. On average, every year we have between 25 to 30 complaints, which compared to what our colleagues from USDA NOP deal with is nothing. We just received their annual report, and they said that they have around 570 complaints per year, which is quite a big number compared to our complaints. However, we know that we have much smaller industry in Canada compared to what they have in the US. And we deal with these complaints. Usually we try to close the complaints between 5 to 10 months. Sometimes it takes longer depending on the nature of the complaint, but everybody is welcome to send a complaint when they notice that something is wrong with the product, with the claim, if there are some doubts or concerns with the product.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I think that's the main thing, is to know that the logo is not mandatory, but companies like to put it on there because consumers quickly can identify with what that logo means. But the most important thing for consumers to look for is the certified by and the name of the organic certification body. So I think that's not a well-known enough fact, and we love to promote the fact that you can always call up the certification body even and say, like, do you ever get those phone calls, Julia? Just saying, hey, is this actually certified?
We do, and it is interesting to note that all Canadian certification bodies do need to list all of their clients. There is a database on every certification body's website where you should be able to look that up. The more complex thing comes when sometimes a product, they're a brand owner who has the product manufactured by another company, and that gets a little more complex. But you should also be able to contact the company and request their organic certificate. So don't hesitate to do that too if you're concerned.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
If I can add something here, actually, all the certification bodies that are accredited by the CFI or recognized by the CFI under the equivalency arrangements are publicly available on the CFI website.
Yes.
So anybody can actually access these names, access the list of the certification bodies, and through the name of the certification body, they have access to the list of the operators. So this is all publicly available information on the CFI website. We try to be as transparent as possible and to provide this information to the general public, to the consumers, so that if they have questions, they can easily obtain this information from the website. And I know that the certification bodies are doing very good job also explaining the certification process, the complaint process. They also list all the operators on their website. So it's again, the more we work together, the more communication we provide to the general public and the industry, the better it is for the organic industry in Canada.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I'll ask one last question to Chanelli and James. You know, you've got your product, you've got it approved by the certifier. What do you have to do then to launch a product as certified organic with retail partners? What is your mechanism to really prove that you're organic?
I wish I had a better answer for you, Tia, but it's actually the onus is really on us. And so if they ask for it, we can show them the certification, and we have many layers, and we have a person that their full-time job is just managing all the certifications with all of our farmer network, all of our co-manufacturers, our own facilities. But there is a lot of trust there, but we show our certificate and it's got all of our SKUs or all of our product codes listed on there, so they can, if they choose to buy our organic chicken fingers and our chicken pot pie, they can go find it on our certificate that from our certifier and shows it's there. So there's a lot of transparency, but so we share that with them if they have those
and I think
questions.
that's exactly what I expected, because I've certainly worked with and talked to retailers where they're looking for that as their verification. So that certificate is your golden ticket to basically prove it. And once you're on the shelf, of course, even if somebody could lose their certification, that does happen at times, then that product would need to be taken from the shelf, no longer sold as organic if you're losing your organic certification. So I think there's a pretty robust system happening with organic all the way through the entire supply chain. And obviously, if anybody within, James or Chanelli's supply chain were to actually lose their certification, they'd have to change source. So everybody needs to do their job on being compliant, audited on an annual basis, and make sure that the whole system is working well, which it's been running for many, many years now. So I think we're seeing it's now on its 16th year, right, Valeria?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
And
that's
I would
great.
think, it has evolved too. I mean, if we went back to see what our audit process was like 13 years ago to where it is today, like it continues to evolve and get more robust as the industry gets more complex and larger. So it's nice to see that happening, that it continues to move and stay relevant with the current market conditions.
Yes, totally. Great. Okay, so I'm going to thank all of our panelists very much for joining us today. It's been wonderful to have you guys. Just to highlight that the purpose of today's webinar really was to give you all the answers so you could go and participate in our contest. So our contest is really focused on, it's called Organic Mark, Get, Set, Go. And what we want you to do is to show us one of your favorite organic products and take a picture to show us the claim on the front and the claim on the back, to show us that you're looking for the right things when it comes to organic. So we'll be starting this as we're launched, of course, September 1st, ending September 30th. And you can find all the details on the organicmonth.ca website. Also, just to pump some of the other big exciting things that we got coming on, is we're going to be doing an organic live stream with Salma Fotavat. The Fotavat family was our organic champions of the year during the Canada Organic Trade Association Leadership Awards this year. So that will be happening on Thursday, September 25th at 2 p.m. live on Instagram. So please join us then. And we also always like to continue educating, and we do a free movie screening every year for Organic Month. This year it's going to be From Seed to Seed with a filmmaker from Winnipeg, and that will be running free for your viewing purposes for September 10th to the 30th. So again, you need to register for that one so that we can send you the link for the free viewing, and you can catch that on the Organic Month website. And we've got lots going on online. We've got influencers working with us this year. We've got a whole bunch of other contests going on. There'll be all sorts of educational information happening throughout the month of October. We've been working with retailers across the country to get specials on organic. There's going to be all sorts of individual actions with retailers across the country, as well as with all the organic provincial associations. So follow us on all the channels, tag us if you're doing something during Organic Month, send us your questions. We're here to educate you and to continue this journey of learning together. Thank you so much again to all of our panelists for participating. Thank you to our sponsors for having us conduct this webinar here today, and everybody enjoy Organic Month for 2025. Thanks so much for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Organic
Yeah.
Month.
Thank you.